tendency to be absorbed in the content of experience and therefore enmeshed in the content of experience is the basis of ego formation. The ego is not a thing. It's not located anywhere. It's not located in the brain or in the body. It's an activity. It's not a solid entity. So this whole idea of getting rid of the ego, killing the ego, is a great error of understanding and an error of the investment of our attention. We do not need to get rid of the ego because the ego doesn't exist. But we do need to, should we be seeking freedom, peace, and so on. We are required to see, to become aware of the activity that seemingly creates what we sense as ego. And when I say ego, I mean the sense of being a separate self, the sense of me as a separate entity made up of my thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, and my experience. That sense of separation is a fragmentation from the whole, the indivisible, unified field of being. That causes us to live in fear, the need to defend ourselves, protect ourselves, and I'm not speaking on a physical level. In the world of form, all of that is natural intelligence for the survival of the organism. We protect, we tend to, we take care that we are not harmed, and so on. I'm speaking psychologically. So that sense of separate self, the ego formation as an activity, so it's not a solid entity, it's an activity. It's something that takes place, that reforms itself. For most people throughout the whole of life, their lives. But it forms itself when we identify or derive our identity from the content of our experience. We can call this interpretation. Interpreting our experience. Interpreting in the sense of let's say I feel an emotion arises and I experience, whether we call it shame or sadness or despondency or whatever it may be. So we've already identified it as something, shame, this, that, and therefore I am this, that. Yeah. We interpret our experience. We interpret the very, if you like, essentially unlabeled experience, because it's just an experience, it's just heat or warmth or a rush of energy or a contraction. It's an energetic experience, and we put a name on it according to our previous experience, according to convention, according to what we've learnt, usually from our families, from society, from culture. And we identify with that. If I'm feeling this, if this energy is in my experience, then I must be this energy. And it could be a thought as well. And so we identify ourselves. That's the ego formation. It's constantly forming itself out of its experience. And it tends to get into a groove. So there are certain experiences, energies, that will seem to enhance a particular conglomeration of interpretations about me. So our experience is not naked, if you like. It's not pure. It's always interpreted through the veil of me, and then creates more of a boundary around me as a separate self, and this is me. And so we are imprisoned in the illusion of me, in the illusion of separation. The other activity that forms the ego, which goes with this, is interference. So when we interpret our experience as wrong or bad or uncomfortable or intense or unwanted, unwelcome in some way, then we interfere with that experience. We try to reject it, suppress it, control it, get rid of it, spiritualize it, kill it, and so on. And on the other end of the continuum, or the pendulum, if you like, is the other positive experiences, ones that we really want to feel. We want to feel high, we want to feel good, we want to feel bliss, we want to feel, And again, essentially there's nothing wrong with that. But when the self identifies with that experience, usually in the spiritual arena, now I've got it, now I've arrived, now this is who I am. And it's usually associated with a feeling, an energetic experience of either expansion or elation in some kind, and so on. And then we try to hold on to that and take possession of that as if it's a commodity that we can accumulate. And then when it's gone, then we swing the other way. And we can relate this to any experience, from the mundane to the transcendent. It is this activity that creates the sense of a separate me. And for most people, this is unconscious. The examination of the self, the inquiry into the self and the true nature, is not just becoming aware of awareness. This is valuable too. Like I said, there are many doorways in. All of them support this knowing. All of them. So this particular doorway is the doorway of seeing that mechanism, seeing that activity. It's that activity of interpretation, interference, that creates mental agitation, emotional turbulence, and physical tension. These are the external symptoms of an activity that has taken over, essentially, and has not been seen or examined or looked into. Again, this is not an intellectual process or a psychological process. It's simply clear seeing, becoming aware of how you respond, of how you interpret, of how you interfere. And the primary way of interfering is resistance, of course. The resistance to what is. The resistance to what is here, to what is here. We resist it if we don't like it, if we don't want it, if it threatens us, if we've labelled it as dangerous, if we've labelled it as pain, if we've labelled it as rejection, if we've labeled it as abandonment, if we've labeled it as aloneness, all of these labels create an impediment to simply being with what is. Being with what is the doorway that opens up into the open field of beingness. So, the question, if you like, or the contemplation is it possible to meet and be with what appears in experience without interpretation, without interference? This invites us to a soft gaze upon experience. Yeah? It's a kind of allowing. There's no resistance, because feelings, experiences, thoughts, energies, as you experience them, can't kill you. They don't kill you. What does kill you is the tension of resistance. That creates physical tension, mental tension, emotional tension, all of which have an impact on the system, on the energetic system. So in this way, we are not getting rid of ego, we are not killing ego, we're not even transcending ego. We're understanding on a real deep level through clear seeing how ego forms itself as a sense of separate me, and that me has a narrative, and that me will defend itself to the point of opposition and argument. It takes a position in itself, the position of me, and anything that threatens that, it will go to war with, even the reality it's experiencing, the feelings, the sensations, the energies. It will go to war with that. This is the divided self. It's the self divided from reality, divided from life. It's that division that we ultimately see in the world as division, as war, as conflict. So it's not only for our own sake, but also for the sake of the totality, what we call the world, that we are invited not to kill ego, not to get rid of, but to see. And in that seeing, it gradually comes undone, at least in this moment. In this moment, it's a kind of undoing. It's an undoing, so that that activity is not at the forefront. It's not at the forefront. It hasn't taken charge of your life, of your experience. It simply either recedes into the background, or it has no more purpose. Does the ego remain? Is there any vestige of what we may call ego? Only in the sense of I. There needs to be a sense of I-ness whilst you're alive in order to function. Once again, it's functional. The deepest sense of I is simply the sense of beingness, the knowing of beingness. I am. I am. Not I am this or I am that. To know that, to recognize that, to abide as that, to fall into that in all experiences and all circumstances. Once again, is the foundation of peace.